Wall-E's journey is a lesson in what life's all about, which is love. And I think that's the thing he starts to have instincts about at the beginning of the movie and learns the intricacies of it throughout the course of the film.
This movie is a romance, basically, between a guy who's all by himself and very lonely and is very shy and naive about love, and someone who's very hyper-competent and totally committed to her job and doesn't have time for anything else. So we kind of thought it was like if Buster Keaton made a movie with Sigourney Weaver, it would probably be Wall-E.
Wall-E's not cool. He's not a cool robot.
Wall-E is like this ultimately functional, bare-bones, trash-crushing machine.
He's built for business. He's a this old house kind of robot. He's not afraid to get dirty. And after 700 years, he's pretty dirty.
He's got very mechanical, overworked, overused joints.
Whenever you get a robot that's not bolted down, that's on treads or on wheels or legs or what have you, every time they move, there's this constant jitter.
We had a couple of different bomb-sniffing robots come to the studio.
I always imagined this bomb-sniffing robot as this robot that would drive out like a tank and would rotate on a dime.
It wasn't all smooth and fluid.
It was a very rickety kind of old grandma kind of robot. And we took a lot from that jankiness and the looseness of the joints.
We put a lot of that on Wall-E, so you get this kind of palsy-like action on him sometimes.
Then we had this tank chair that showed up. And the tank chair was this invention by this guy who made a wheelchair that instead of wheels, it had tank treads.
And we got a chance to see how the treads might look running over various types of terrain. I think one of the biggest things I learned is just how quickly the treads got dirty and just how much junk they would shoot out behind them. So really kind of put into perspective just how messed up Wall-E would be after going over harsher terrain for like 700 years.
Eve is much more of the slick design, the really quick-moving, precise, calculated robot.
You know, lots of subtlety and simplicity, masking great complexity.
She's simple in design, and that whole approach we had to take, even in motion, it falls through in everything.
She has her body that's moving, and then the arms kind of float behind it like a wind chime a little bit. And then when she's moving around, she kind of moves like an underwater, I don't know, like a manatee, maybe, or a narwhal.
There's sort of an outer shell that hides a more complex mechanism underneath. Like there are tiny little seams around her. Every one of her pieces has got a 1 millimeter round bevel. The gun, as a contrast to that, looks really aggressive and mechanical. You know, she splits apart and this aggressive-looking thing pops out.
Both on Eve and on Wall-E, neither of them have elbows, which presents a lot of challenges.
We spent like, oh God, I don't know how many months. Does he have elbows? Does he have elbows? I don't know. Should he have elbows?
Well, you gotta have elbows because it's a character and he has to be able to wave and do all this stuff.
The nice thing about elbows is that it solved a lot of acting problems, but it also got us into an area of acting that we didn't really want to be, where it was a little stagey and it didn't quite seem to fit with the aesthetic of the studio, which is truth to materials.
I just did a test of him waving and it just looked really weird. Like it made him look flimsy again. I mean, like he had this little elbow in there that just looked so thin that you're just like, nah, I don't buy it.
If we need the character to do something a little more small or interact with an object in front of them, what we do is we bring the arms down and suddenly those arms become elbows.
When he's trying to connect with Eve, he'd have the arms right down here, and then that way you could see the relationship between the arms and the face.
So he's a robot, let's make him look like a robot, no elbows, they won. But just cramming all the stuff he needs to do into that little cube was a trick.
I can think of probably only one person in the art department who actually wanted to sit and like draw every single nut and bolt in these guys, and his name is Jay Schuster.
When Andrew first pitched the design of Wall-E, he wanted this turtle shell kind of hide-and-seek aspect to Wall-E's design.
To make all that stuff fit inside his body, the box would have to be much bigger.
I was drawing all this stuff on paper, how Wall-E might work and fold up, and there's only so much you could draw. So I just decided to do these really rough foam core mock-ups, and this really helped me wrap my head around his inner dimensions.
I think the key part of getting a robot to emote and us to really feel like he's alive is making sure that the insides of the eyes feel like they have a soul.
We built some little temporary models based on an afocal zoom system, which is like a, like a standard film camera lens. Trying to figure out like what would those motions be? What sort of shutters would we need? How would we get eye blink kinds of looks?
We wanted this impression of him, being able to focus on things, and one lens would rotate forward and twist as it's rotating, just giving that fluid motion inside of his eyes.
Eve has a special kind of eyes which we've never done before, where her eyes have to make all kinds of shapes.
With all these robots, we're always studying how can they express but still be true to their character. If she's in love, don't have her eye screen go to hearts. Actually, that'd be the easy way out.
Most animators, that's their first love with animation, is the ability to tell stories and emotions and acting through motion.
But we have characters that don't talk. So how do you convey that I love you? And Andrew came up with the idea that it's holding of the hand, so that Wally wants to hold Eve's hand. That's his way of signifying I love you.
So the minute that you see her kind of slowly figuring it out and opening her hand up and then putting her hands together, I mean, that's a powerful moment to me, because it's just like you see this, robot figuring out what love is.
I just love taking this machine that logically shouldn't have that, and just to pursue the girl, the byproduct of that is sort of correcting the rest of the world. It sort of made us come up with this theme of a robot's love is what makes the world go round.